Gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government. Do you still think that jet fuel brought down the World Trade Center? Does anybody else see a problem here? If the government has nothing to hide, why are they so afraid to answer a few questions? This story does not add up. Listen to me, listen to your head.
Stand up and be counted for what you are about to receive. We are the dealers that give you everything you need. But what happens when the globalists break the compact with humanity and begin to cut off the resources and say development's bad? We have to break with them. Daniel Estulin, best-selling author, investigative journalist, super Bilderberg sleuth. Probably Jim Tucker discovered it and exposed it, but Daniel Estulin actually penetrated it, infiltrated it. Again, we're going to talk to him about all his amazing sources. I know he's got Bilderberg sources. I even know who their names are. And he's given us amazing intel. A year and a half before the housing collapse, he said they're going to plunge the housing system in a year and a half and gave the reasons. I mean, he's laid it all out. And so DanielEstulin.com, he joins us via video Skype from Canada, where he's at right now. So Daniel, great seeing you again. Thank you for joining us. If you're a radio listener, Infowars.com/show. You can always see the video feeds, folks. It's free. Let me ask you to just set the waterfront for us here. I've made my points for 3 minutes. What do you want to cover today? I'm just guessing what you might want to cover because we're focusing on the same war that's going on. But what else is on your palette?
I think, Alex, it's great to be back on your show. You're right. I haven't been on for about a year. A lot has been going on. And in this past few weeks, first of all, you won the very important award in Mexico. Just came back there from Mexico. Congratulations. That's first of all. Second of all, NATO, Montenegro is something I want to discuss. Urgent issue that Americans need to understand. The treacherous and the treasonous attempt by the United States and the world presidency back, win the White House back. We can discuss that as well. I think at no time in America's prior history, Alex, has anything so openly subversive and treacherously treasonous ever been perpetuated on the United States of America before. I think the closest being the covert conspiracy single-handedly thwarted by America's military hero, General Smedley Butler in 1934, when a band of elitist bankers, traitors attempted a coup d'etat against the FDR administration. We know the game. The all too familiar divide and conquer strategy is once again the globalist go-to modus operandi. We're seeing it right now in St. Petersburg. We're seeing it in the United States. We're seeing it in Europe. We're seeing it in Latin America. We're seeing it all over the world. And again, this is being implemented through the multi-pronged assaults waging an open insurrection war against the Donald Trump administration in America in order to successfully execute a coup d'etat committed by traitors to take down America as the latest banana republic.
Daniel, you don't like labels, but I mean, you've been so on target over the years in your books I've read, both novels with classified stuff and both non-novels. Makes my head spin. I just respect you more as the years go on. You're one of those maybe 10 people I know that have been so on target, it's actually scary. People think I'm on target. It's my guests that are on target. But looking at globalism, I would call you a classical liberal. You didn't like Bush. You don't like all this stuff. You're very liberal policies. I agree with a lot of those as well. You're a real liberal. We see Nigel Farage, I'd call a real liberal for Trump. And it's not that Trump's perfect, it's just that clearly the power structure's against him, they hate him, and then you lay out St. Petersburg, what's happening there with their agenda. So where should we start? You have the real liberals and then nationalists of every race, color, creed, and then you've got Republican establishment, Democratic establishment, elites, European elites, all wanting this global system, trying to prop it up, and then we're allied with radical Islam. We're not against Islam, but just radical Islam. Who are the players? Where are we right now?
Well, Alex, the ruling elite's long-time agenda has been to destroy the United States and the West from within. And in reaction to last year's growing anti-globalist movement represented by the Brexit vote and also anti-establishment Trump election, the elite is becoming desperately aggressive right now, fighting for absolute domination and population control, insidiously wiping up unstable domestic conditions throughout the Western world, engineered to explode, with racial, class, religious, and also politically charged civil war violence in both America and Europe. What you're seeing in the United States, we have seen in Europe, in Spain, in Italy, in France, in England, in Germany, in other countries as well, in Portugal and also in Greece. In the United States, this takes the form of mass deployment of a robotically dumbed down, highly manipulated, yet well-organized political left. And again, we've seen this, you know, with the flake movements in the United States right after Trump election, you know, constituting the elites' weapons of mass destruction against Trump's reactionary or militarized authoritarian federal forces, soon spilling blood and chaos as America's very own spring uprising. The coming riots are aimed at causing the violent breakdown of civil society in both America and Europe. Of course, co-timed with the ongoing...
Let me just back, you're spewing so much knowledge here. Clearly they're trying to foment race war, all this crap. You mentioned that. They're trying to foment war. They admit they're trying to foment war. So let's dial back and talk about that some specifically, because this is unprecedented. The COG, mainstream papers saying overthrow Trump, calling for civil war, and they're saying implode the economy to hurt nationalism, as if the public doesn't get, you're going to hurt our economy to get, I mean, forget Trump. They're openly saying, make us poor.
Well, Alex, there is a new norm in America that is one of chaos, race wars, and also mass shootings that are supposedly, you know, real, unless, of course, you can provide a mountain of evidence to debunk the official mainstream media narrative, police announcements, or whatever intelligence sources, you know, are saying. And of course, this new norm is, you know, is even being contributed to by many alternative media sources in the interest of being correct, no, and authentic about what they're saying. I think for the first time in modern American history, we have a generation that doesn't know what order, calmness, and peace look like. They have no idea what it's like not to be at war, or even to be in a war that has realistic scenarios for the possible ending date. And now, with the ruling elite moving as fast as ever to get their new world order done, we're seeing a brand new level of chaos and fear slowly becoming the new norm that particularly the millennials are being led to believe is inevitable and the new unavoidable reality. So I think that's what's happening.
I agree. John McCain said the New World Order is collapsing in crisis. All the elites are saying it. I think it's premature to say that, but they're finally hitting the alarm bell. Why are they saying that?
You know, Alex, the chaos, once almost exclusively limited to the Middle East, that we've become so accustomed to watching on television, is slowly but surely carrying over to the United States and also to Russia, as we saw today, one PSYOP Gladio B operation staged event at a time. No longer is chaos something happening thousands of miles away. It's happening right here in America. It's happening in Russia, in my hometown. And notice, you know, I keep saying chaos because unlike Operation Gladio, which occurred throughout Europe, mostly from the 1960s to the early 1990s, sorry, the current so-called Operation Gladio B, which again, you know, we can call Northwood.
Instead of being purely staged, they bring in people that will do it.
Well, it's much more sophisticated. You have Gladio B, unlike Gladio A, is being conducted in an era of mass psychological terror and deception made possible by technology, legalized propaganda, fake terror groups like ISIS.
Amazing. Man, Daniel, you move so quick, but it's all so on target. Well, I'll get my brain burning here. Let me ask this before I go to break. Why do they hate Russia so much? I mean, Russia, I know you're a Russia expert. I've never been there. I just study it. They're not expanding. They're trying to build their country. They have good policies for their people. Why are the elites so out to get Russia? It's crazy.
Because you can't have one world government, new world order, one world company limited unless you can destroy it. The only nuclear-powered, China has nuclear weapons, but China is a military, is an economic superpower. Russia is the only alternative to the military superpower that is the United States. So again, until you can destroy Russia, you will not have your one world, whatever you want to call it.
But their program destroying Russia is failing. The Russians always dig in. So where does that go?
They just keep doing it and trying to destroy it any way possible. And again, chaos or order out of chaos. And this is what we're seeing right now. Keep in mind, Alex, that the people behind the economic policies in Russia are all the same liberal crowd pulled there by the Bill Clinton presidency 20 years ago. In other words, Putin may be a great leader and a great politician and a great strategist, but his hands are tied because, again, Putin as the president controls foreign policy. The prime minister, Medvedev.
That's right. He's completely surrounded like Trump.
Well, he's a liberal stooge trader who works for the interest of the Western governing elite with all the bankers who represent...
So Putin and Trump are both surrounded. They, like Putin said yesterday, meet with me. Don't let them intimidate you. They need to come together, laugh at the whole system, and they need to have a huge, you'll have all the ratings. They need to like have a 2-hour talk on TV. Let's talk about that right now. We need to get Putin and Trump together right now to just absolutely lay out what's happening. Daniel Estulin's our guest. Stay with us. I know the globalists want to cut off the resources to dictate humanity's surrender to their technotronic system. And the communist Chinese, God bless them, are enslaving their own people. They're totally on board with the globalists. There's kind of some infighting and jockeying going on, but Russia has, almost what I was saying, 3 times the size of the U.S., 5 or 6 times bigger than China. Most of it's unpopulated. And the globalists just say, we want that now. It's like they've taken Africa, exploited it, Latin America, you name it. Most of the Amazon basin's unpopulated as well. They want people wiped out of there. We live in big cities because we're all together and think, oh, the world's overpopulated. Go drive an hour. There's nothing out there. But you're on roads that go into the other towns, so it creates the perception there's always people. No, people means commerce. It means jobs. That's why, like a fish reef, there might not be another reef for 200 miles in the ocean, but this reef's all these teeming fish. Oh, there's too many fish here. What's going on? That's because there's life there. There's an economy. All right, Daniel Estulin. We were getting into Montenegro. The Senate passed it. Only 2 people voted against it. Sessions, obviously, is a vacant seat, so he wasn't there. But we're looking at all this, and they're trying to start a war there. Now, Trump can veto it, or NATO could veto it. But regardless, they want to start a war. What do you think the global order is going to do? Because last time we had you on a year ago, you said, well, they're having some problems, but they're not in crisis yet. Sounds like you're saying they're panicked, they're in crisis. They're getting, it seems like they're like Juncker saying we'll start a war with Europe, we'll march an EU army in, we'll economically destroy the UK, they're threatening us with breaking America up. It seems like this doesn't look like what winners do, but you're the expert, so in the next 13 minutes, you've got the floor before you got to go. Give us your presentation. Again, Daniel Estulin, the best-selling author of the Club Bilderberg and so many books. You can follow him, obviously, at Twitter. And we'll put that up on screen for TV viewers. But Daniel, again, what other knowledge do you want to impart to folks?
Well, I think it's important to understand why these people want to start a war. World's financial system, Alex, can survive until about the end of 2017. The total collapse, the system that we know today, would come no longer than January, February 2018. Every financial instrument and mechanism available was used up to avoid the 2008 near collapse. So there's no more money in the current system. The International Monetary Fund and also the United States policy to stimulate the outflow of capital from developing countries, which includes obviously China and Russia, thus buying time for themselves, have taken out over $200 billion from Russia, manipulating their currency, devaluing the rubles, through the central bank. And of course, the director of the central bank was put there by Clinton's allies in the United States. And these are the same people who have also caused the outflow of over $1 trillion from China, and doing the same thing with the yuan. In addition, they also took out between $2 and $3 trillion, which were literally stolen from the offshore accounts of the British elite via a Panama Papers scandal, bringing to light the money hidden by the aristocracy, mainly English aristocracy. This, in fact, was the beginning of Brexit. Now, Trump has 2 options available to him. You either save the United States economy and sink the economies of the rest of the world, because again, you don't have enough money in the system to do everything, or you save the world at the expense of the United States. And according to Trump, there will be no more dollars for international investments. Only investment available will be to save the American economy. Thus, in his first speech, he explicitly talked about the need to invest in U.S. infrastructure, something that you and I talked about over a year ago, before Trump's election, before the primaries. We said the need for progress and development of society goes through infrastructure and space exploration. Because when we build infrastructure, Alex, we're actually reorganizing the physical space-time of the planet, allowing our world to attain...
We're taking fiat crap and actually building something and making it about human activity.
That's one way of putting it. So, if your system is increasingly moving to higher levels of efficiency, such as, from coal-based economy to an oil-based economy to a nuclear-based economy, there'll be an increase in the productive power of human labor at every step of the way. And that's the way the actual wealth is created. Money is simply the way of...
But as you know, the globalists admit they want a post-industrial world squeezing off resources. That's really Trump's great sin, is he wants cheaper energy and innovation and a world based on humans.
And that goes through... Actually, probably one of the greatest speeches ever made by a United States politician. In this case, Donald Trump made one of the greatest speeches ever when he talked about the need for space exploration. And again, money has no intrinsic value. It possesses no magical powers. What it
Only
does,
exploration and trailblazing.
exactly. Yes, sir. Well, Alex, exactly. You know, we're at the gates of a worldwide economic default and dismantling of the capitalist system. And the only difference, again, going back to Hillary Clinton, is that Clinton would have pushed us into world war, which would probably have meant the end of mankind as we know it.
That was the old answer to collapse. We can't do that now.
Exactly. You know, at the global level, those who supported Clinton are also inside the European Central Bank, International Monetary Fund, Council of Europe, European Parliament, endless US think tanks, liberal lobby groups. And in Russia, these people are represented by the United Russia. That's President Putin's party and Prime Minister Medvedev's. Of course, Putin has very little to do with United Russia in a sense that his policies are progress and development.
So you're saying his own party's the enemy?
From Russian history, that it took President Putin 2 presidencies to actually get control of all the circles of power within the Russian government. And of course, in the United States, you're seeing the same thing. And these people, they will do everything possible to recover the power they lost, making use of wide range of hybrid, irregular methodologies from mega terrorists.
Yeah, deep state, people ignoring. Well, that's why even Fareed Zakaria, a Bilderberg guy, says Trump's the most powerful, Putin's the most powerful leader in the world. Not that Russia's even that powerful now economically. You know, economically, it's like Italy. It's because he actually is in power, which we're not pushing dictatorship. But instead of globalist manipulation, it's a guy for Russia in charge. And that's why he's so hard to deal with, because finally a country's actually in charge of itself.
Well, look what they're doing all over the world. In Western Europe, we have assassination of politicians, Russian ambassadors.
Hundreds of top Russians killed, 30 or 40 very, very top ones. What do you make of that?
Part and parcel of what we're talking about. Civil society breakdown, civil disobedience, United-based or Europe. Russia thus far has been able to avoid that. You know, to using refugees as a weapon of destabilization and terrorism. Of course, look at the refugee crisis in Europe. 60 million displaced, of which 5 million are from Syria alone. And
you said in Endgame in 2007, 10 years ago, they would use refugees as weapons, because I know you had sources inside. They've been planning this forever.
Well, Bilderberg has been planning these things. You know, they plan generations ahead. And in Germany, today, more than 200 cities have shelters for refugees, many of them living in slums, in the ghettos, segregated from the rest of the population. The tensions are palpable. And it's only a matter of time, Alex, before an explosion and social breakdown occurs in Germany, in Italy, in Holland.
And that's how you started. What are they planning to do after this social breakdown happens that the media is hyping?
Trump versus Clinton was the fight between the representatives of the two of the world's supranational power structures, the Rothschilds behind Trump against the Rockefellers behind the Clinton. That said, neither the Rockefeller family nor the Rothschild family represent true power above them. You know, above the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, we have the Astors, the Lodges, the Flemings, the Grosvenors, the Mathesons, the Keswicks, whose fortunes are measured and counted in trillions of dollars. Trump represents a change in the paradigm of society as we have never seen in the history of humanity. Not a new world order, but rather a new world struggling to be born, unsure of its rule.
So you're saying Rothschilds are backing Trump versus the eugenics-based Rockefellers?
Exactly. If you kind of look at the people behind...
I got told that my CIA sources 3 years ago. They said, oh, you're bashing the Rothschilds. Watch what they're about to do. They're going to try to actually give wealth back to the people. Not because they're even good. They don't want a total worldwide bloodbath.
It's just that this time their interests coincide with our interests. Because, again, behind Clinton, you have the Rockefellers, the transnational bankers, which is the World Company Limited, the globalist, non-American, or American power elite circles. The people are backing Donald Trump are the non-American financier circles centered in the city of London, Hong Kong, World Center for Money Laundering, Drugs, Intelligence, and British Control, leftover elite circles of the British Empire, the Rothschilds, European elite represented by the old European aristocracy, such as the houses of Sage-Coburg, Austro-Hungarian aristocracy, and also Ottoman nobility, as well as the Venetian black nobility. And then on a smaller scale, you have the intelligence agencies, so on and so forth. But again, these are big groups of people, very powerful individuals historically. And
is it fair to say most U.S. intelligence, from what I've researched, is for Trump?
Most U.S. intelligence except for the DEA, NSA, and the CIA.
All right, well, it's a crazy time to be alive, Daniel. We got 50 seconds left. What else do you want to add?
I think, again, be vigilant, be intelligent, don't follow propaganda techniques, analyze, and also ask the right questions. Why is this being done? Who's going to win and who's going to benefit when all is said and done?
All right, and again, on Twitter, what's the best place for people to get in touch with you?
At Estulin Daniel, that's my Twitter account. And again, Alex, congratulations on a very important, international, very prestigious journalistic award in Mexico. I also won an award for my documentary film.
I know I got the big press club award, one of the biggest groups in Latin America. I'm very honored. I wish I could have gone, but there was death threats, so I couldn't. I want to thank them, though, for their great work. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you so much, sir.
I'm going to come back with some final comments straight ahead. You know, there's our award for the operation, all the great crew. When we come back, we're going to hit some other news I haven't covered yet. Then we've got the great David Knight taking over on this Monday worldwide transmission. Infowars.com has a lot of key reports and videos that the globalists do not want you to see, that they do not want you to spread particularly. It's robots against humans. Help spread those links.
Gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government. Do you still think that jet fuel brought down the World Trade Center? Does anybody else see a problem here? If the government has nothing to hide, why are they so afraid to answer a few questions? This story does not add up.